Welcome back, Savages. Tonight we're talking about Vermont's Bennington Triangle.
So this Bennington Triangle is in the southwestern portion of Vermont.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't it border like another state too?
It does. I have a map, but it's really hard to see it. It's kind of, it goes from above Manchester in Vermont down to Albany and then over to Greenfield. And it's that whole section there, which is part of, there's like foresty woods there and
places you probably shouldn't explore when you're by yourself.
Well, obviously not, according to all these stories. There are a bunch of people that went missing between 1920 to 1950-ish.
It's like we forgot how to do this.
We did. We forgot how to talk. I'm so sorry.
It's been a long week.
Yeah. So this place has been known for all kinds of weird phenomena. There's been lights in the sky. So there have been strange lights in the sky. People have reported seeing strange creatures. There's a phantom hitchhiker there. People have said that they think it's like a vortex of some sort. Mm-hmm. And the veil between the different dimensions is super thin there, which people say that's why people have just disappeared. They just slip through from one to the other.
Road trip.
Yeah.
Safely.
Yeah. I'm not really one for hiking.
I was like thinking about it. I was like, we can take this road trip, but we better do it safely.
Oh, they also, people have said that there is a Wendigo there.
I saw Bigfoot too. And
Bigfoot is another one, yeah.
There we go again.
Well, when they did find two of the bodies, there were unusually large footprints next to them. One of them, we'll get to that part, yes. One of them was.
I was like, I wasn't sure if this was the same one we were talking about because we were reading so much that I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Ew.
And in all of the disappearances and 2 confirmed deaths, aside from that one that we'll talk about, which is still hard to say that would be considered foul play, but there's been no evidence of foul play in any of these murders or disappearances.
Yeah, I saw that.
Except for, well, there's one that's kind of iffy. There was one with a little boy that's kind of iffy.
I don't like when children are involved.
Yeah. There is Native American lore that goes along with this that says the land is cursed. I'm not sure about this next part because it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But they say the land is so cursed that they would only use it for burial ground.
So you want to make it worse.
Right. That's the part that confuses me because isn't that sacred ground that you use for burials? But maybe that's just what they used for it because they didn't want to use that land for anything else. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the only way that I could see is if it's like, I don't know, like prisoners or people that don't want to be identified or whatnot, or people that they want to forget about.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to mark them. They're just going to bury them, and that's going to be the end of it.
Well, it was the Native American people that used it for a burial
ground.
So,
well, they do mark things. They're very sacred.
Yes.
Don't touch the rocks.
Which that's what kind of threw me because they're very sacred and very by the book. But if this land was so cursed, if they just didn't feel comfortable using it for anything else, I would think maybe during their burial process they thought they were helping to relieve the curse each time. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me either.
No. There's also another story that goes back with the Native Americans. There was a legend that warned of a malevolent stone.
Don't touch the rocks.
Yeah, and it was in the mountains, and if you stood on it, it would open up and devour you.
Put it back. Don't touch it. Put it back. I wouldn't. See, people are
Being
like
very cautious.
People make fun of, right, but people make fun of me about that. Like, If there's like rocks, like, oh, you gotta step over. I'm like you can step up. I'm like, nope, I will step over, but I will not step on.
Yeah, no.
Because God knows what's gonna happen if you step on a rock
Yeah.
of any kind in the middle of the forest.
And don't ever pick it up and take it with you.
And if it looks pretty, don't touch it. You're never coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The fairy people will get you.
Yeah, we don't talk about them. They called it the man-eating stone of Glastonbury Mountain.
If you're standing on it and you disappear, you did that. Yep. I don't know where I was going with that whole sentence. If you stand on that, that is your own fault. You did it to yourself, and good luck with your future.
There is a working theory. It still doesn't tell you what is going on, but red.
Like the color?
Yeah. The color red was seen on or had something to do with each person. The one girl, her family called her red. The girl that went out for a run had a red jacket. Another one had a red jacket or shirt. They all disappeared mid-afternoon between 3 and 4. And
3:30.
yeah. None of them were very far from each other when they disappeared, and it seemed to always happen the last 3 months of the year.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the movie The Town.
I don't think I ever saw that one.
It's basically where these people go off grid in something similar like that. And people like disappear if they go into that area, and the color red is like a no-no.
Then it's probably based on
because
this
it
lore.
attracts the beast.
That's probably based on this lore because that's what they're thinking, that the red...
And like these people were originally part of like an actual city. I don't know how it got started. I don't remember that part, but they were just people that slowly ventured into the forest and they became their own colony. And the color red was a no-no. And these people were thought to have been missing.
Interesting. We'll have to look that up because I would say they probably...
The Town.
I would say they probably loosely based it on this.
Yeah, that's really what it sounds like. It's either that or The Village. Something like that.
The Village, I saw that one. That's that M. Night Shyamalan.
M. Night Shyamalan, I think that's how you say it.
I can't say it, so I always call him Shyamalama. So the first one that went missing, or at least the first one that they talk about, the first one that is documented that went missing was a 74-year-old hunting guide. And he had traveled this land a gazillion times. So the likelihood of him getting lost is like slim to none.
Yeah, because like if you're a guide, you know the ins and outs, you know secret passages, tunnels.
Yep.
You go with satellite phones, backup things, like you know what to do in case of bad situations.
Yes. And he was leading them back to the camp, and he got a little bit ahead of them, and the rest of the people got back to camp, and he wasn't there. They had no idea. They never saw him turn off. He was just in front of them, and then he wasn't there at camp.
Interesting.
They combed through the wilderness for 8 days. The only thing they found was a rifle cartridge of the same type that he had. There's no guarantee it was his, but it was the same type. No evidence of an animal attack. His body wasn't found. Nothing. Poof. And he was, a wilderness man, so even if he had gotten separated, he would have survived and
he
made his way back.
Yeah.
I don't have any logical explanation for what could have even...
Don't go into the woods.
Well, yeah, I mean...
no, people like that, they don't typically just disappear. Like some way, form, shape, they do find their way back to civilization.
Yeah, or you're at least going to find a body.
That too, yeah.
Yeah. Because those just don't disappear. Even if it is eaten by an animal.
There's still something that gets left behind.
So another one was Carl, and he was hunting with his cousin. Unfortunately, none of them are named Steve.
Oh.
Carl was hunting with his cousin Henry, and this was like 1943-ish.
So fairly recently.
Yeah, the other one was, oh, actually, I messed that up. The guide was actually 1945, so he wasn't the first one. Carl was 43.
Either way, they're still fairly recent.
Yeah,
Within the last, 70 years.
yeah. So they were up in the mountainy area, and they were hunting, and that's like almost right the center of the triangle. They got separated. Henry contacted the authorities to go look for him. Days they were out there. They finally found his body. His gun was nearby, but no bullets were discharged. The autopsy determined the cause of death was squeezing. His ribs, he had been squeezed so hard that his ribs punctured his lung.
I read that part and I was like, so he's toothpaste.
Yeah, pretty much. He just squish. Again, I don't have any logical explanation for what could possibly squeeze somebody to death in the middle of the woods.
I don't even think there's a medical condition.
No. I mean, things can happen inside of your body with your lungs. They can shrink, they can shrivel, whatever.
Yeah.
But to be physically squeezed from the outside so hard that you crush ribs and...
Did he have any, marks? Couldn't think of the word.
I don't know.
Okay.
Nobody mentioned that. Everybody was just dumbfounded by the fact that he was squeezed. It would be interesting, though, to go back and see if we can find, official...
photos and stuff, yeah.
To see if there was any evidence of any marks.
Ligature marks or anything like that?
Yeah. Because you could bind somebody and squeeze them that hard, but then you would see, rope marks. I don't know. They don't say how big this guy was, but I find it pretty hard to believe that somebody could do that to somebody just by squeezing them, unless he was a twig.
Well, yeah. I mean, because I've seen it on, they teach it to you in, some self-defense classes that if you squeeze hard enough, you can, make somebody, pass out.
Yeah.
But you could also crack their ribs, but that's typically just cracking their ribs, not exactly puncturing a lung.
Yeah.
But it could happen if you don't know what you're doing.
True. But you figure, given the fact that he was hunting, I would say he was probably in his 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
He was probably...
Decent fit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't think he would be, 100
And I
pounds
think-
soaking wet.
Right, and I think that even with something like that, with them getting separated, in these types of places, everything echoes.
Mm-hmm.
You would have heard a gunshot. I would think you would have heard it at some point.
He didn't discharge
Well, that's what
his-
I'm
yeah.
saying, is you would have heard
Yeah.
a gunshot or something.
You would have heard a scream. You would
Right.
have heard something.
Yeah, because those types of places, they echo.
And the fact that he is a hunter and he did not even try to shoot anything. If he saw something coming at him,
Unless it was behind him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even then, I would think if you're hunting, you have everything ready to go.
Right.
You would still turn around and shoot. Now, you probably wouldn't hit anything because
Right.
they'd be on you by that point.
Right.
But you would think, I don't know. And then, let's see.
It's the Twilight Zone.
In 1946, there was an 18-year-old student. This is the one she was going for a run or a hike.
Why would-
Whatever. One article said she was going on a run. Another article said she was going for a hike. But this is something she normally did. There was a trail. She did this all the time. So her roommates didn't even think anything of it when she said, hey, I'm going to go for a run or a hike or whatever. Local guy that she knew drove her to the spot where she normally goes for her runs, her hikes, whatever you want to call it. Dropped her off. Trail was over there, dropped her off over here. She walked over, chatted with some hikers, and then she was off. And she was last seen on December 1st wearing a red coat. Her father and search teams searched for 4 weeks.
And nothing.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing turned up. Case is still unsolved to this day, and her dad, brokenhearted, picked up and left.
I don't blame him.
I mean, stranger things have happened than somebody just up and running away.
Right.
But
Well, I
in the
mean-
40s, that wasn't as common as it is to now.
No,
To now.
because to now, yeah. There's a lot of times back in that time frame, like that era, that people made plans to escape because something was going on that they didn't want people to know. I mean,
Yeah.
there have been people that have been disappeared for centuries, and all of a sudden, you know, they're in like 60s and 70s, and they're like, you went missing a long time ago. And they're like, well, I was never missing.
Right.
I was just in a bad place, and I started over.
Yeah.
Because back then, you could disappear, and
Yeah.
nobody would find you.
Yeah. Or, you know, she was in college, young girls end up pregnant, they run away.
Yep.
But the fact that this was huge, national news, they looked for her, nobody saw her leave town, nobody saw her get on a bus, nobody saw her get on a plane.
She just, poof,
Yeah.
gone.
They did aircraft surveillance. They posted a $5,000 reward, which back then,
That's a lot of money.
that's a hell of a lot of money. Nothing. No leads, no, hey, I saw her 3
Nope.
towns over.
Nobody.
Nobody, nothing.
It's weird that they're not finding anything either. They're not finding, like, fibers, hair, shoes, socks.
Right.
There's just nothing.
And granted, we have much better equipment and stuff today for missing persons and crime scenes, but even, like you said, a piece of clothing, a scrap of clothing,
Right.
a shoelace, part of a
Something.
shoelace,
Yeah.
an earring.
And the fact that nobody has tried to go out with the equipment that we have now.
Yeah. Well,
Unless
maybe
they have, and just,
Yeah.
like, you get to that part in the actual Bermuda Triangle where everything just stops working.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't even think of that.
I watched a lot of documentaries about the Bermuda Triangle.
Because the whole owl thing, that creeped me out just about as much. But I think I'm pretty much over that now. We've talked about all these things enough
I
that
was
I'm
going to
like,
say,
whatever.
we've talked about them so much that I think you're just...
Yeah, just whatever. So then there was, I think it was a family that was camping, and a lady or a kid, lady, I don't know how old she was, and her cousin were going to go on a hike. Well, they tell everybody, hey, we're going on a hike. They leave, and as they're going to get to the trail, she slips and ends up in this little, they call it a river. I don't see how it could be a big river, but she slips in this little thing.
Like a ravine.
Yeah, and her clothes are all wet, so she was going to go back to camp and change clothes while her cousin said, oh, I'll stand here. Yeah, in the middle of the woods with other people disappearing. Sure, I'll just stand here and wait for you.
Why is that everybody's concept? No, I'll just wait here. No, you go back with the person that your buddy system. Buddy
I don't know.
system. You're less likely to disappear when you have a buddy. Unless that buddy disappears too, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
Buddy system.
So he stood there and he waited and waited, and he's like, all right, this is ridiculous. What's taking so long? So he goes and heads back to camp. Nobody at camp had seen her. So she disappeared in broad daylight in like less than a mile. He could pretty much see the trail leading back to camp. He could pretty much see the whole thing. She's just gone. They finally called off the search after, I mean, they had hundreds to 1,000 volunteers out looking for her.
Oh, wow.
May 12th, 1951, her body was found near the reservoir in an area that had previously been searched extensively. She wasn't seen then.
Body dump.
Yeah. The body was so badly decomposed at that point, they couldn't come to a conclusion for cause of death.
Weird.
It seems like 7 months and a few odd weeks, your body shouldn't be that badly decomposed that you can't get. So again,
It also is based on like the elements and whatnot
Yeah.
too. Animals, elements, and the fact that she was already wet.
yeah.
If she died when her body was wet, eventually it'll dry, but it'll all just
Yeah.
be gross. Ew.
Great. Thanks for that.
I'm glad I could help decomposing bodies.
Ugh. Then there was another story about a guy on a train. So he lived in this area. He went to visit some family or friends, and he was coming back home, and he was on the train. They go to the final stop before they get to Bennington, and nobody sees him get off the train, leave the train station, nothing. When the train arrives at Bennington, he's nowhere to be found. His papers are still on his seat. His luggage is still in the overhead compartment. He was never seen getting off the train or leaving the train station previously.
That's weird.
Where'd he go?
Yeah, and Bennington is like right in the middle
right in
area.
Yeah.
Where did he get on the train? Does it say?
I forget where it was. I don't know. I might have it somewhere. No, it doesn't say. He was just heading back to Bennington. There were 14 passengers on the train with him that confirmed he never got off the bus before Bennington.
Well, Bennington, looks like on the map, Bennington is like literally on like 2 different states.
Yeah.
So somebody had to have seen him.
Yeah.
At that point.
Out of the 14 people that were with him in that, whatever it's called, never saw him leave.
He was abducted.
Yeah.
Just bloop, gone.
And flashy thingy, you saw nothing. This one is hard to say for sure if it could potentially be something else.
Okay.
Mom and her son were out in front by the car. And one story says he got in the car. One story says he got in the truck bed. Mom said, stay there. I'm going to go tend to the pigs. I'll be right back. She tends to the pigs, however long. All the stories say was it wasn't very long at all. She comes back. He's gone. Poof. They brought out the bloodhounds. They brought out all the volunteers, the entire force to go look for this kid. The bloodhounds kept his scent from his house all the way to the woods in the mountains and lost it from there. There were stories that say witnesses saw somebody with the boy in the back of a car.
That's where my thought went.
There was like 5 or 6 different stories all along those lines with saying that there was all kinds of nefarious things going on in that area.
Yeah.
And so that's the only one that could potentially be something else. But how did they get his scent all the way to the woods and then lose it?
Right.
Because if that would mean the little kid would have to get out of the car, go all the way into the woods, which is possible.
If he was lured.
Right.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what's the chance that these people that are stealing kids are just driving through the woods?
We have candy. Do you want a puppy?
That one's iffy. I can't say.
Well, again, back in that time frame, stranger danger wasn't a thing.
Right.
Everybody was friendly with everybody, which is stupid.
And in those small towns, everybody knows everybody.
Right.
So Steve down the street says, your mom said to come pick you up.
All right. You got candy? Here, what's this rag smell like?
Chloroform.
Does this rag smell like chloroform to you? That will never not be funny.
No.
I don't chloroform people. It's a joke. It's something funny that I did at work a long time ago, and it just is not funny to anybody.
So in 2019.
Oh yay! This is recent.
Yeah. They found the remains of a New York resident. Not going to say the name because that was fairly recent.
Yeah.
They were found near the reservoir, which is where the other lady was found too. They have no leads. The other connection is her nickname was Red. And in all the other stories, there was something with Red. Then you skip ahead 2 years and there's another one, sort of.
Yeah, well, that one was just 3 years ago.
Yeah. So this guy was found in his truck.
I know what you're wearing.
and he was at the reservoir with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And he'd been missing for 7 weeks.
So I'm confused. So was he part of what happened with Red, or was he somebody else that they just happened upon?
It was tying it into his truck was red.
Okay.
I knew there was something that tied him into the red. I mean, does stuff like that happen? Sure. But there's a whole lot of coincidences here that would say it's all tied together.
Yeah. And they don't know why, that he was just there.
He was just there and shot himself in the head.
Which is the first one that we've seen that's like been self-inflicted.
Yes.
Well, supposedly
Yeah.
self-inflicted.
None of the other stories fit that. But if there's a big creature that you see and given the choice of squished to death and eaten, or did he maybe have some mental illness going on and he was out there having a break and then he sees this thing running at him and maybe he was contemplating that to begin with and that just pushed him over?
We all know my soapbox. I don't need to repeat it half a dozen times. Now, could it have been a bear? Oh, absolutely. It could have definitely been a bear. And there are only two options when you come across a bear, which is you're going to die by the bear or you have other means. You picked the latter there, people, but my whole thing is you are in the woods. There are lots of animals that are not, they are friend-shaped, but they are not friendly. You have a lot of animals. So I could see, like, especially with, like, coyotes, bears, even wolves, because in this part of this area, there are wolves. They, they drag people away.
Yes,
that has been known to happen. Because what they do is they herd people, which I don't know if anybody else knows this, but I'm weirdo. I watch documentaries, but like things like coyotes, there's always one coyote that you will see, but what you don't see behind that coyote is the pack
that's waiting.
That is waiting.
Yeah.
Which is why when people say, oh, there's one coyote, there is never just one. Same thing with hyenas and wolves. You have one that will seek out the prey and push them towards where they want to go while the pack is waiting to ambush them, basically.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could see some of these people running into that situation.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Well, the ones that are camping, though, that, like, you could literally see the camp from where you're standing, that one I have a little more of a hard time with, because if everybody can see everything, you should have seen her disappear. Exactly. You would have heard her scream something.
If there was anything coming at her or she fell or slipped or whatever, you would have heard something.
And honestly, a lot of these animals are attracted to blood. The smell.
I don't like the smell of blood. No.
No. People or animal, it just smells.
It does.
It smells like pennies.
Yeah. Although not all of them.
No. The ones that are sick doesn't smell like pennies.
No. I would much rather talk about the vanishing people in the triangle, thank you. There's some pretty good theories for what it could be. As far as if it's paranormal or the owls or a vortex. Or...
A lot of them were Bigfoot.
Yes.
There's something stuck in my hoodie.
There's a lot of Bigfoot and a lot of aliens.
Yes. Bigfoot was definitely the one that was like prominent in everything that was talked about, was the footprints and the pictures of the animal, which again...
Oh yeah, I think I forgot that part. Both of the bodies that they found had the unusually large footprints around them.
Yeah, I saw that too and was like, okay, here we go. Again,
Bigfoot.
Nah. It could have been a bear. Bears have big feet. It's not Bigfoot.
They don't have big feet. They have big paws.
Shut up. You know what I meant. You meant what I knew. They have big paws. And bears are not the type of animal. Well, bears can be friendly. Like, I've seen like people that have been camping and whatnot, and like if it's an animal that you have personally known for years and you whatnot, but there is still a point where they could rip your face off.
Yeah. No, thank you.
And especially out in the wilderness, if you think you're gonna befriend a bear, like what is his name?
That ain't no Winnie the Pooh.
Right, Winnie the Pooh or Mowgli, you're gonna get your face eaten.
Yeah.
And other body parts.
Mm-hmm.
Again, friend-shaped, but not friendly.
They had a lot of cougars.
Yeah.
What's the other one?
There's mountain lions, there's cougars, bobcats.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Bobcats may look small, man, but they will rip you to pieces.
And they're really cute and squishy. And
again, friend-shaped,
No.
but not friendly.
They will eat you.
That's going to be the topic. Friend-shaped, not friendly. How many things can you come up with? I don't know. My whole thing about Bigfoot, we all know how I feel about it. But the fact that none of these people were ever, well, not all of them, but most of them have never been found.
And how many have disappeared that weren't documented?
Right.
And obviously they weren't found, or there would be something documenting that they were found.
Right. That was my next question, is how many people actually have disappeared?
Yeah.
That have not been documented?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and how recently have they disappeared?
Yep. Because there's a whole lot of missing people in that general area right now.
Well, we could always check out the missing 411 pages that they have
we
and
could
see
do that.
if there's any
Mm-hmm.
to this.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
We just got to track down zip codes and...
Yeah. We're going to put up a map and just start putting in pins.
Yes.
Got to get the colorful ones to keep me distracted.
Stay tuned for when we delve into this and see what we come up with.
I just like putting pins in the board.
Okay, well, you can put pins in the board, but we have to come up with numbers now because we said we will.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But that could be fun.
Yeah.
We could solve the case, even though we don't know what the hell did it. But we can solve the case and say all of your missing people are with all of these missing people.
We
Find
are
them.
not Scooby-Doo.
All right. See you later. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications.
Share it with your friends because we're funny.
And share it with your enemies because...
I can't say that. I was like, oh, I know what I can say. No, never mind. Because I like to say things to bullies, even though I'm not allowed.
All right. Bye.
Bye, guys. I forgot how to say Vermont for a second. I was like, Vermont? I can't. Vermont. My stutter wanted to come out, and I was like, no, that's going to be really bad. Because then it's going to be like Vermont. And I'm not a snake. I'm a snake.
Okay.
I'm a snaky snake.
Oh, boy.
It's going to be a great night. We're back from holiday.
Holiday? We was on holiday.
I don't know where that came from. My other personality's coming out.
Even if it was eaten by an aminal, and an aminal.
Yeah? We're doing aminals now? Aminal crackers in my soup.
I quit. I'm done.
I don't like Scooby snacks. Those are for dogs. Ew.
I don't know, but Shaggy's always happy.
That's that's not PG-13.
No, wait, because
Shaggy, yeah, Shaggy likes trees.
Yeah. He's a, what's that called? Horticulture?
Yeah, horticulture that involves plants and
Yeah.
whatnot. Yeah. And that's why he lives in the back of his van.
Yep.
And it's, always full of smoke and food.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. He has to eat the Scooby snacks because he was out playing with his trees.
Nope. Mm-mm. I don't like that one. I don't, nope. I don't like that one. That's not a good one. That's just about as my muck. It's this big.
Oh, okay.
All right.
How are we on time?
We're
Okay,
good.
we're good.